Welcome, everyone, to the Predictive Playbook. It's Tuesday, December the 14th, 2021, and this is the College Football Show, and more specifically, it is the Bowl Show. It's our second edition of the Bowl Show. We're going to be looking at five different games, guys, and we also had a show last week with picks on that as well, and I will show that later in the show in the form of a slide. So be on the alert for those picks at the end. It'll summarize all of our picks for all the way through Christmas Eve. So without further ado, we are going to get started with my co-host, Jesse Schule. We are looking at the Northern Illinois game, Friday, December 17th at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, I love saying that, Chanticleers, Sunbelt member. They are 10-2 in the season, 6-6 against the spread. The market had them pegged pretty good. Obviously, the over/under was 5-7 on the over. At home, they're 6-1 as a favorite. They are 10-2, going up against the Northern Illinois Huskies, MAC champions. What do you think of this matchup, Jesse?
Well, John, I hope you don't mind if I leave the team name pronunciation up to you. I'm just going to refer to them as Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina will be a double-digit favorite, and that makes plenty of sense. They only lost twice during the regular season. They're going to be disappointed that they didn't make it to the conference championship game. They were ranked for most of the season. They were one of the better teams in the Sun Belt. They actually finished first in the Sun Belt in total defense. They allowed 325 yards per game. They only allowed 20 points per game. The Huskies, of course, won the MAC championship, and I'm not sure how motivated the Huskies are going to be. They might have their chests puffed out a little bit after winning the MAC championship, coming off a winless season the year before, and their history in bowl games is not so great. They lost 37-13 to UAB in their last bowl game. They lost to Duke 36-14 in 2017. They lost 55-7 to Boise State before that. Last year, Coastal Carolina, they played a 37-34 thriller against Liberty. Grayson McCall had a big game there, threw for 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. 96 rushing yards and a touchdown. I just think the Huskies' run offense here is going to struggle against a much better defense than they're used to facing. I do like Coastal Carolina here. I know John had Northern Illinois last week, but I am a little concerned that the 10 points is perhaps, it could prove to be too much if we end up having a low-scoring game. And the Huskies are 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 bowl games, and the under is 12-5 in the last 17 neutral site games. So I'm going to take the Northern Illinois team total under.
I like the breakdown, Jesse. Even though, I don't know what I'm going to do with going to the window in Northern Illinois. I still have time, obviously, but I guess I'm sticking by the theme that I had last week with the Chanticleers having kind of a disappointing season at 10-2, and we always talk about whether the team wants to be there against a MAC champion, conference champion. Well, we'll have to see what happens.
If it finishes 30-23, that works out for both of us.
That's true, and that's what we want. And I can definitely see that happening, Jesse. I can definitely see that happening. If Northern Illinois is going to do it, it's not going to be a track meet, that's for sure. Let's move over to Dr. Chuck here. We're going to take a look at the North Texas game. This is Miami of Ohio against North Texas at the Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas. I can say I've never been there, but I bet you it's a darn good stadium. This is taking place Thursday, December 23rd. Frisco Football Classic is what it's called. Must have something to do with Frisco, guys, but Miami, Ohio comes in as the road team in this matchup. Neutral site, obviously. -4.5. Seeing some -3s across the board after opening at -4.5. North Texas, 6-6 on the year. Miami of Ohio in all games, 5-6. Road games, 1-6. Last 3 games, 2-1. What's the opportunity here, Dr. Chuck?
Well, John, you brought it up there. North Texas is 6-6. They were 1-6 at a point in this season. They came off of a loss to Liberty, and since then they're 5-0 straight up and against the spread. Seth Luttrell's offense is just humming along, hammering San Antonio, and the excellent Conference USA leading defense, knocking off them from the undefeated ranks in that final game, putting up 45 points there. And we discussed off air whether or not proximity could sometimes be a detriment to a spot here. And while North Texas is basically playing a home game on a neutral field here, you mentioned it went from 4.5. It's already down to 3. I think you got to get it quick if you want to get that field goal. I make North Texas to be the favorite in this game. And I would recommend, if you're looking at this from a way that you would do neutral field versus not, if North Texas was going to Miami, the way they've been playing right now, would you really want to lay anything like what you'd have to be laying in Miami? You'd almost be laying a touchdown up in Ohio. And I don't, Miami's off of a huge offensive output against Kent State in that finale, but I just don't think that they're going to keep that going. North Texas's defense is better. Their offense, like I mentioned, is really able to score. I make them favorite, getting the 3 points here. Hopefully you can get the 3, maybe even a 3.5 if there's any of those out there. But I think the Mean Green win this, and you're getting 3 points. So the value is in the points here, and maybe even sprinkle a little bit on the money line.
I love sprinkling the money line. That's no better ice cream tasting bet than doing a sprinkle on the money line. And now, guys, it's my turn. So let's try not to fall asleep here, but I'll try to make this exciting. This is Eastern Michigan going up against Liberty, both teams 7-5 on the season. The Lending Tree Bowl, Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama, set to start at 5:45 p.m. on this Saturday, December the 18th. Reminds me that there's only 6 more days of shopping once I see this game, and I better get my act together on that. Eastern Michigan, Liberty has a total that opened at 57. It's now 58.5. Not surprising there. Liberty's gone from -6.5 to -9. And that has to do with player personnel issues and question marks. And there is, it's uncertain whether Willis is going to start for Liberty. He played 12 games, all of them this year, 194 completions on 315 attempts. That's 62% passing, 26 passing yards per attempt, 8.3, quarterback rating 149.1. But I'm here to tell you guys, I don't care who is under center. If he chooses not to play, okay, I'm all right with that. Because they have a sophomore named Jonathan Bennett. He's number 11 for the Flash, or the Flames, I should say. It is the Liberty Flames. It's Kent State Flash. I got it right. He's a redshirt sophomore, and he's 6 foot 220. So he's pretty thick and pretty solid guy. Comes out of Somerville High School in South Carolina. His background is quite impressive. He received offers from Appalachian State, Campbell, Charlotte, Coastal Carolina, the Citadel, Gardner-Webb, and Old Dominion. He was a 3-year recruit, 3-star recruit on 24/7 Sports. He was the Low Country Player of the Year and Region 8 5A Player of the Year as a senior in South Carolina. That gets my attention too. Rushed for 18 touchdowns and 614 yards. He was first team all-region selection as a senior and won the regional title. So I like the background of this kid, and he's played sparingly. He's appeared in 7 games, 14 for 31. That's not so good. But when you come in as a cleanup sub or other situation, it's hard to get a rhythm. If Willis doesn't play, this is going to be his first start, and he is the future of Liberty going into next year. So I'm confident that he is much better than those stats would indicate. And how in the world would Eastern Michigan be able to prepare for this kid? I'm on Liberty here. I think they win this no matter who's under center, like I said, and I would take the points up to 9.5. I don't like them all that much as a double digit, but this line may be all over the place as we get closer to game time. Liberty's 16-5 against the spread when the total's between 56.5 and 63 points. My predictive models show a very high probability that Liberty will score at least 28 points in this bowl game. In their history. They are 5-2 against the spread this season, 17-4-1 against the spread the last 3 seasons when they have scored 28 or more points. And guess what, guys? Eastern Michigan is not good when they allow 28 or more points. They're 1-5 this season and 5-15 the past 3 when allowing 28 or more. My money is definitely going towards Liberty. Now we're going to move on to Jesse's second pick of the show. This is another team. You picked my 2 favorite teams mascots to say on a show. UL Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns. I mean, that the Washington football team ought to use that. They're going up against the Marshall Thundering Herd, Conference USA, against the Sun Belt. Ragin' Cajuns 12-1. Thundering Herd 7-5. Even money 6-6 against the spread. And actually, the Ragin' Cajuns, surprisingly, at 12-1 straight up, the market was perfect at 6-7 against the number. The Ragin' Cajuns are also known as an under team. I don't know if that's going to apply in this bowl game or not, but they're 10-3 under this year. Take it away, Jesse, and tell us where your best bet is in this matchup.
Well, John, the team name here is definitely more satisfying. Ragin' Cajuns is a lot of it rolls off the tongue a little nicer than Coastal Carolina's team name. Of course, the Ragin' Cajuns lost their season opener to Texas, and then they ran the table, won the rest of their games out. They're the Sun Belt champions, and as you mentioned, they're great defensively. Not the highest scoring team, so it might be counterintuitive to suggest that I'm taking the team total over, and you can get that number anywhere from 27.5 to 30.5, and obviously get the best number you can. But I'm looking at this Marshall team, and I really think Marshall's going to struggle to contain the Ragin' Cajuns. I also think if they struggle to score, if this ends up being a game where Marshall gets blown out, if they can't score, that means they're just going to be handing the ball back to the Ragin' Cajuns for them to pile on, and I would expect them to score 30-plus points, no problem, in that event. And if Marshall's going to make a game of it, it's going to have to be a track meet. When Marshall has any success, they score quickly, they score often, and their defense, I don't think, is equipped to stop the Ragin' Cajuns from answering. Marshall gave up 53 points in a loss to Western Kentucky in the Conference USA championship game. Marshall has 5 losses on the season, and 4 of those games they gave up more than 30 points. The over is 22-5 in Marshall's last 27 non-conference games. Marshall lost to Buffalo last year in their bowl game. They lost 48-25 to Central Florida in their bowl game in 2019. Again, I think Marshall is going to give up points regardless of the outcome of this game. Team total over for Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns.
Well said, Jesse. Ragin' Cajuns. How could you ever bet against a team named that? So we have 4 games down, 1 to go. Dr. Chuck is our anchor today, and we are going to look at the Hawaii-Memphis matchup, which is the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletic Complex. Is the location 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Memphis Tigers against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, Mountain West Conference member. Memphis Tigers is American Athletic Conference. 6-6 are the Memphis Tigers, 4-8 against the spread. And 6-7 are the Rainbows, 5-7-1. So we have 2 teams with losing records against the spread and coming in on horrible trends. Tigers are 0-7, last 7 on neutral site games as a dog. The Tigers are also 0-6 in their last 6 bowl games as an underdog. The Rainbow Warriors are not good either, 0-4 in their last 4 games, following a straight-up win of more than 20 points. Dr. Chuck, it sure seems that you're probably going to have best bet on the total of this game, I would think.
Yep, you nailed it, John. It's almost as if you knew where I was looking at these 2 bad ATS season-ending teams here. Yes, so part of the aspect of this is where it opened, and we're looking at, we discussed off air, there's so many moving parts. The coaching carousel is pretty nuts this season, as well as all the players that could be already entering the transfer portal and or sitting out. So, I'm looking I'm looking at so many options. The Nevada-Western Michigan game seemed like a place to maybe hit. You mentioned the Liberty game. So many options out there, but with roster and coaching stability, we get a couple of teams here. It's in Hawaii, a home game for Hawaii. I'm focusing on these home games, not taking the side, though. I'm taking that over, and I think you can get it at 58.5. Might have to get 59, but it opened higher than that. It's dropping. I thought it should open at 63, 64. We have two passing teams. They both teams pass actually at a top 15 in the nation rate comparatively to all 119 teams in Division One or in FBS, and they don't play great defense. As you mentioned, Memphis is giving up points, left and right. Hawaii has a probably better defense and they're at home, but I can't trust them against a team like Memphis that I think is better. And we're talking 59. And if I'm thinking it's going to open 64, I probably was going to be a little bullish on it going over at that point too. You're going to have great weather. And as I said, both teams, John likes to talk about yards per play, yards per point. Hawaii is allowing 7.7 yards per pass attempt, and Memphis is allowing north of 7 as well. And those aren't completions, those are pass attempts. So a couple of high passing teams, you get clock stoppage, and I just think that we have a game where both teams get into the 30s. And if you can get a sub 60 total on this, I think you're going to be looking at a winning ticket early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm definitely on your side with that one, Dr. Chuck. And guys, as always, I hate when we get to the end of the show, but we're at the end of the show. We gave out our 5 free picks, and we have a graphic right here. If you look above, you can see all of our picks from the last 2 weeks of shows. We encourage you to tail us. We're right around 59% against the spread for the year. And realistically, guys and gals, if you're new bettors, if you hear somebody saying they're nailing 75% winners for the entire season, just run, hang up the phone, or just don't consider that again. I mean, reality is that 58% to 60% on any given season in college football is a good, successful season. After all, it means you made money, right? But we appreciate you watching our show, and until next time, which will be next Tuesday when we break down the big matchups. And you know what Final Four we're talking about. We're going to tear them apart in depth. I can't wait for that one. So until then, thanks for watching. Be sure to get over to sportsmemo.com and get our discounted college bowl packages. It's starting this week. And on behalf of Jesse, Dr. Chuck, and myself, may all the wins be yours.